So in this video, we're going to cover exactly the same information that we did in the last one, except for this time we're going to be dealing with the object-oriented style. Like it says here, it's much harder but more powerful than the matplotlib style. I expect most of you guys to use the matplotlib style when you first get started, but when you find out that you need to do something a little bit more complicated than it's able to handle, you'll probably move over to this one at some point. But again, it's not something that you have to memorize or anything like that. So the first thing that we want to do, let's start over. I'm going to restart the kernel. This is the stuff that was up. So what I have on the screen here is, this is last lesson, the video that we just did, and it has the data. So we still have the data. Let me run all that F9. Oops, I didn't run the imports. So we imported that, and now let's look and see. So I'm not going to really type anything in here. I just wanted to do this one really fast and on the fly. So I just wanted to compare. So this is what we did in number one before, and I'm sorry, this is what we did in number one before, where we just did plt.plot, and then we plotted the sine versus versus x, and if we ran that, we would see something that looks a lot like this one. So this is the way to do it with this AX, this axes. So you have a figure object and you got an, so this subplots creates two objects, a figure and an axes object, and your axes objects can do things sort of like PLT did over here in this setup. And we'll see maybe a little bit of the power later on in this video. The next thing that we wanted to do, if we look back over here, it was to plot two things on the same, so a sine and cosine function. You can literally do the exact same thing just by replacing the PLT with, and it looks like more code, but it's not. It's just an extra line right now to create the objects, and then this AX does that. So we can see to do multiple ones. Now we're gonna do a subplot this time, and now you can do a subplot in matplotlib architecture as well. I just want to show you. So what we're doing is we're creating two rows and one column of subplots. So it's going to be a plot on top of another plot, and then on the first one, on the top one, AX0, axis 0, I'm going to throw a scatter plot, the same scatter plot that we did before. So this is number 3. So we're putting the same scatter plot, and then on the bottom one, I'm going to put this cosine plot, the blue one there. So let's find out what happens. And you see that you got the scatter plot on top, and you got the cosine plot on bottom, and then the difference in those two. Oh, this one I'm gonna put them side by side. So this says subplots 1 row and 2 columns. Let's see what happens there, and it looks a little funky, kind of squishes it in a little bit, but that's all right. We can make it. Obviously, we can make them a lot bigger, and we'll do a little bit of that here in a few. All right, so now we're down here to bar plot, and you can see we did several different types of bar plots. I'm going to do them all on the same, well, we're going to do 4 subplots now. So I'm doing 2 rows and 2 columns, so that means 2 times 2 is 4, so I'm going to have 2 axes objects. There's one figure object and several axes objects, and you can see in the top left one, I'm going to put a scatter plot. In the bottom, so that's row 1, or row 2, I should say, column 1. So in the bottom left one, I'm going to put the cosine. In the top right, I'm going to put a bar chart that has no width, basically the 0.75 or the very small width, and then we're going to have one that's pretty big. All right, so let's see what happens here. All right, so again, you got the scatter plot, you got I think this is the cosine, yeah, the cosine plot, and you can see the y limits are changing and the x limits change too according to whatever numbers go into those plots. And you can see the skinny plot is that one in the top right, and the bottom right is the one that has the thicker plot. All right, and then in this one we're doing multiple bars. Again, the same sort of setup, so it seems some sort of setup as number 5 here. Let's see where number 5 right here. So you can see that now we have a little spacer in there. Maybe I didn't put the spacer in here. Yeah, I'm not really gonna worry about all the little details that we did before, but let's run this one. And now we get, oh, and I ran it a little bit higher DPI, I think, or no, fig size and DPI. So let's take out this DPI business just to run it and see what happens here. So you can see so the DPI is going to make it a much larger. Maybe you aren't able to see everything on the screen. So I just wanted to put everything on one little screen here so we could see it all. So you can see the multiple bars. Again, it's the same business that we did before. Last time we had PLT here. Now we have AX00. I wanted to note that you can't do, or you're not doing X, it's not AX.X label anymore. It's set X label if you want to label X values and Y values. I did this thing called PLT.tight layout. So that you're going to need that if you try to do some subplots. So what happened if I didn't put that in there, then X values, you wouldn't be able to see it because this one would be on it. This bottom graph will be on top of X values. Later on in the course, we're going to get to a place where you can very specifically tell exactly how big you want these graphs and stuff. But right now, I just wanted to introduce you guys to being able to do multiple graphs. Labeling. So yeah, let's see, find out what happens here. So when you do a subplot, you can do subtitles and titles and different things in here. So soup title is how you would give. We don't think we use soup title up there. Yeah, it looks like the first time we use soup title. Anyway, so it's a different way to approach it. And then this one's sort of given the ability, so you still have the ability to use LaTeX, but again, it's set X label and it's set Y label. And then you can see the DPI 150 makes it kind of big here. And finally, this looks like, I shouldn't say finally because we have one more after this one. Same idea, right? So instead of PLT, it's got AX here. There's just some very small subtleties. If you want to use fig size, like we did before we did PLT.figure, if you want to use fig size and DPI, you got to do it in this PLT.subplots. And then you can see that we labeled the X label and Y label. And then finally, let's see, what was the big deal with this one? Let me scoot it over. I'm going to X out. I'm going to make this big. It's basically the same thing as we did before, but again, the only difference is you got X label and Y label. Oh, I'm showing you that PLT. So PLT.title comes up there. If you change it out and did subtitle for the figure, it would give you exactly the same thing. Right, so we have subtitle there. You get the legend. So this one's showing you the legend. That's what this one's doing. So if you label it like we did before, label is equal to the sign of X, and this label is equal to the LaTeX X squared over 20, then it labels it for you when you throw the AX.legend. Okay, hopefully that's you got something out of this one. Again, we're going to have a little cheat sheet that goes along with this. When I say cheat sheet, I mean sort of a sheet that will help you do some of these very, very quick things, and it will lead to a lot more complicated data visualization techniques. All right, I'll see you guys next time.